How are y'all doing? My name is Anna Bryson, and I am I'm sorry, my brain is just not working today. I am a project designer for Michaels, and today we are going to make these fun wrap bracelets with some of our beads from Creatology, bead boxes. You'll see I'm wearing one today as well, and I have this bright colored one to show. So if we can, I think I'm already on Spotlight, so we'll go ahead and go through the materials so we can get ready to get started on our bracelet making. So the first thing that you are going to need are beads. Now, these are two bead. I'm going to open these up because the gloss on the top is probably kind of hard to see. But in here, you have all kinds of stuff. On this one, you've got alpha beads, which we can use, pony beads, faceted beads, both opaque or clear, some fun different shapes, rounds, hearts, stars, all kinds of fun stuff. Lots of fun colors in primary. If you like I do, I like bright colors, and I also like glow in the dark because I think it's super fun. This bead box is a glow in the dark, which is what this is made from. Not my ponytail holder. I'll take that off so not in our way here. But this guy here is made with this, and in here we've also got alphabet beads. We're a little bit more limited than have all the different shapes or the faceted, but it does have some fun round ones. It does have hearts and stars. So we have a lot of things on this one to get started. There's all kinds of other beads that you can use here. You can use different shapes. You can use different colors. I'll show you this one here. I also like this one has like this little star kind of funky. I don't even know. It almost looks like a bow that goes on top of a gift wrap if you look at it at the right angle. It has all kinds of different things on it. So you can use any bead. The thing that I would watch for is make sure the hole in the bead is big enough for the material that we are stringing, which we'll go through next. We also need some lacing. So this right here actually takes two different kinds of cords. The first cord is the outside lace, the outside border, I guess you'd call it, these two black here. This one has white. The one I put over to the side there is white also. And it comes in a set like this. There's also a set that we carry that are bright colors. I believe it's like a hot pink and a lime green and a turquoise. That works too. You can use that. Or if you have something else like Rex lacing, which is this stuff here. It'll come in a package that looks more like not this package, but looks like these right here, or it's on the spool. You can use yarn if you want to. It's not going to be as sturdy, but it will work. I'm trying to think of other options that you could use if you had that's probably the best options, but really, be creative if you don't have these things, but basically what you need is a sturdy, outside structure, like a cording piece. Can be hemp, what do you call it? Twine, any of that stuff, or ribbon. Ribbon works too. So this Rex lacing was not on the material list, but because it's a nice color that you'll be able to see well, I am going to use it in our class. So I'm going to put it aside and we'll talk about that in a minute, and you'll see why in just a minute. Then I also call out this variety pack, which I think is an awesome item. You've got clear, black, and you've got this twine, this maybe just like a cotton threading, and then something that looks like leather. A little bit more plastic here in black and white. So it's a great item to have on hand if you are like a jewelry maker like I am. This is a great item to have. I actually keep this in bulk in my drawer. And I typically use this, and actually on here, that's what I used. If I'm going to pull it up close, if you can see the little black small that's going through, and see how it's really hard to see. I don't want to be teaching y'all how to do this and not being able to see, which is why I'm going to use the purple one so it's easier to see. On here, I did it with clear. That might be a little bit better angle with the lighting. Or even like this right here has the Rex lacing, which it was a clear with a blue, but that's the part I'm talking about. And let's see, what else do we need? So I'm gonna set this aside. Oh, I'm gonna go back to these real quick. It comes with these little plastic doohicks here, and this is for if you're using it as a necklace. We are not using it for necklace. We don't need these for here, but don't throw them away. Put them in a safe place so you have them whenever you need them if you're going to use this cording for something else. And then I'm gonna put this over here. And then you'll need scissors. These are Creatology kid Scissors are fantastic. They work for all kinds of items. And you're going to need a ruler, which mine is off camera, but we know what a ruler is, I believe. And tape. Tape is not absolutely a must, but it sure does help keep things there sturdy, and you'll see why shortly. Okay, so that's the materials. We have any questions about materials before we jump into this? No? Awesome. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing, I'm going to keep this just like right here, just so you can kind of see. Actually, I'm going to lay it out so you have that visual. I'm just going to lay it across the top, and sometimes it may get moved several times as I'm trying to figure it out how I'm going to be working this project. So just know that this is here, and then also I'm going to wear this so you can kind of see it in action. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to cut 48 inches of our main cording, which is this outside black here. I'm going to do it on white, and I'm going to do it on white. And if you remember, I'm going to use purple lacing again, so it's easier for you to see, but you can use any color that you want to use. So the first thing is measure out. I'm going to clip this tape that's holding all this together here. So go ahead and cut 48 inches of this. I think it's called pony bead. What is it called? Pony bead lacing, I think. It's nice, and you can see the tube is nice and large, so you can fit through several different beads. But that's one thing you got to watch for in any jewelry making, whether it's kids beads or when you get older and you're going into jewelry making for older type techniques, is watch for the bead holes. Make sure they're big enough to go through your cording can go through your bead holes. It's a nice little tip there just for future. Okay, so we have our 48 inches, and then we're going to fold it in half. So I just get the two ends, put them together, and then I'm kind of pulling it over here because I'm going to work on this end first, which I know seems weird, but I promise you it will make sense. And we have this loop here, and what we're going to do is we're going to be creating this part of our bracelet, which is, I'm going to call it the clasp. Okay, so that's really how you're going to close your bracelet around your wrist. Okay, so what we are doing is we have our loop here. This is the middle. Remember, we just fold it in half to find that middle. Super easy. And then I'm going to do an overhand knot. Okay, so I'm going to do this very slow, and I will do it a couple times if needed, but it's just an overhand knot. So all I'm doing, it's kind of hard to explain as you do an overhand knot, but really I'm just taking the loop and I'm putting it on my fingers here. I'm wrapping it around, and then where I have this kind of a crisscross, and I'm going to tuck it under. If you need help, I'm sure an adult around can help you. And then you're going to tighten this up. And you want this loop to be about an inch in size. I'm not measuring it. I'm making a best guesstimate. So does it have to be quite large, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be a perfect size, because as we'll see, I'm going to show you here at the end. It just needs to go over your pony bead and clasp it like this. If you can see here how I have mine just kind of clasped on there, that's all it needs to be. If you can see, this seems to be a little bit bigger than what this one was. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just don't want it so large that it's so loose that it falls off. I'm going to undo this knot real quick just to show it again. So just bear with me here. If you have already got your knot, just watch in the fabulousness of knot making here. So all I'm doing again is I'm holding it in place, and then I'm going to tie my knot. Oh my goodness, it's kind of hard to go slow when you're used to like flying through, right? And then since I have this, I can move this knot as I'm tightening it, just using my fingers to move it up a little bit, because as you saw, that loop was way too big. It would have fallen right off. So that's all. Just a nice little single knot. That's all you need. If you want to double it, go for it. If you have something thinner than this right here, you might want to double it. But ours is pretty small. I mean, this is pretty thick, so one knot will be perfectly fine. And then I'm just tightening it. All I'm doing is pulling it to tighten it. So you don't have to do anything else but pull it a little bit. Don't pull it too tight, because I know that sometimes things can be a little bit fragile, especially if you're giving it your all. Okay, so then once we have that, we have this right here. It's about an inch and a half inch, from your knot. You've got your loop. So now we're going to tape this to our surface. If you want to tape it, I like to tape it because I don't want it moving around on me. I want to make this as easy as I can. Now I'm going to go up a little bit above my normal working space just because I need it on the table. If I do it on the paper, it's gonna move around. So I'm just gonna tape it too by the loop because we're working from the knot down. So this right here is gonna be our bracelet. So we're working from the knot towards you. So you want to tape it up. And sometimes if you're like me, you're pulling and moving and I'm very animated when I move and talk. I want it nice and sturdy because I don't want it to slide out. If it might slide out. So just know you can just tape it again. It's no big deal. So here we go. Before we move on, do we have any questions? Are we doing okay?
No questions so far.
Awesome. I also know I talk fast, so please, if I'm talking too fast, let me know. I try to remember that I'm on camera to slow my dialect down a little bit. So, okay. So now that we have this cut, we are going to go to our lacing or cording. It's like it's a non-stretch. If you have a stretch, that's okay. If you want to use one of the cordings that came in your bead box, perfectly fine. These do have stretch to them. So I put mine on a little full thing so it's a little bit more organized, but these have some stretch to them, but that's okay. That's not the work. That's not a bad thing. So if that's what you have to work with, or these guys here, you can use these. It might be a little bit frustrating because the fabric on here may unravel on you as you're stringing, but that's okay too, because you're not going to see it. So, it's not the worst thing. But I will say that you can use those. As I said before, I am only going to use this Rex lacing because so you can see it. So, I said you can see that contrast. If I was doing white on white or clear on clear, it would be really hard for you to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to stick with the purple. If you have Rex lacing, that works. So go for it. You can do Rex lacing. It's not I was just trying not to make everything, by all these different items. I was trying to keep the cost reasonable when I was creating this project. So there we go. So now, and you're going to cut a 72-inch piece. That's a 72-inch piece. I feel like I said that really fast. And really that's if you have a yardstick, just measure 36 and fold it in half and then cut it. So, or double it, I should say, cut it. So you just need 72 inches of this. I'll give you, I got a jump start. So I'll give you a few minutes or a minute or so to get that cut.
And they can use yarn, right? If they don't have anything else?
They can. They absolutely can, especially for this part. For this part, yarn is great because you don't have to have, this is just to weave it. You don't have to have the structure of the outside. However, I will say, make sure that your yarn is thin enough to go through the holes in your beads. Now, if you're using pony beads, which are like this style bead, you're set with yarn because see how the holes are really big. But if you go into something like this, it's going to be a lot harder to get your yarn through that. So just keep that in mind. But it absolutely works. Okay, so now that we have that, we are going to tuck our, looks like my dog wants to, a little bit of shedding happening there, coming up here on our screen. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm sliding this cording underneath, and I'm going to find the middle again by folding it in half because I want to work it. Getting it set is a little bit awkward, kind of getting everything set up in the very, very beginning. So bear with me. I'm going to grab a bead, and I'm going to grab a pony bead because this first one, like I said, can be a little awkward. And I'm going to put it on, I'm threading one bead on, and I'm going to move it up here because I want it in the middle, and you'll see. So what I did is I have it on one side and I have it in the middle, and I'm going to set the bead right there in the middle. And then I'm going to take the other side that's on the left. I'm right-handed, so I won't right first, but you can do it either anyway. I'm going to thread it through that bead the other direction. So they're crisscross. And before I tighten it, I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like. It's the crisscross. Doesn't have to be way up there right now. It's crisscross. I've got my main, the half point is underneath right here, is underneath these here. And then I wrapped around it and went through the bead. So I'll show you again. I'm just going to tighten this so we can keep this on here.
When you get a second, can you show them what you're using to as the string?
Yeah, this is Rex lacing, which are these, a lot of times it's used for lanyard making. And the reason I'm using this is just because it's a bright color and it can contrast. And I'm actually going to, I'm gonna switch techniques on you. I'm gonna do that because I think it'll be a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna tie one end. I do this like 2 or 3 different ways, and I think this would probably be the best way. And I apologize to switch on you. I'm just going to tie this on. I just tied one knot, and I'm going to do another knot just to make extra secure, make sure it's extra secure. And then I'm going to slide that up to the top, and it will be hidden inside my bead. So the first bead I want to start with, I'm going to go ahead and thread it on here. And you'll see that it will be hidden. And let me tighten it. Thing about working with plastic lacing though, it's a little bit slippery. So it's kind of got to make sure you got that real nice and tight. Okay. So this is what I have going on here. Got a lot of things going. So I've got my first one kind of split out like a V, upside down V, or a TP, can be a tent. And then I took one end of my cording and tied it up on the side, thread one bead through, and going to go in, it's going to nestle in the middle. It's going to do its own thing for a minute, but it will nestle in the middle. And I'm going to tuck that end in here so that knot will be hidden inside that bead. So I'm pulling it through. Okay. I'm going to do it again once I get a couple of beads woven, because it's going to, like I said, it's going to be slippery at first. Okay. So right now what I did, so I took the outside and thread it through. So now we're just going to be weaving beads. So that's pretty much what this technique is. Okay. So if you imagine, so it's like this. Okay. So you can go either above or below this here. I'm going to go below because I think it'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing. So like I said, it's going to be kind of difficult and this is a very easy technique, but it takes a minute to get started. It takes a little bit of, it's a little bit practice, it takes some practice to get started. So where is my end? Okay. So I'm going to hold it. So I went over and under. So went over here under. I know, I'm sorry. This is it. I'm going to show it as I'm telling you. Okay. So I have this tied on. I have the bead here. Okay. It's over. It's tied onto there. It's tied onto this one on the right, going through the bead. And then I'm going to lift this and let that go under. Is that a little bit easier to see? And then what's going to happen is I'm going to bring this end back over the outside and back through the same bead. And when I tighten it up, it will stay in its little place. And it's going to be curly because I didn't bring it all the way through, but I wanted to show. There we go. It'll straighten out as we get it up here. So just use your hands to kind of get that bead up there in its little natural habitat, this little spot up there. And then we'll tuck this bead in later, or this thing in towards the end. Okay. So what I did is I went through, under here, over the outside, and through the same bead. Now I'm going to do that again on this side. And you only do it like this with the first bead because you want it to be, well, actually, you're going to do it for all the beads because we go in and out. So we'll go under again, and then through that same bead. So this first one is getting a couple of ins and outs just so we can make sure because he doesn't have another bead ahead of it to help stabilize. And then you'll just work that. Like I said, the first one's kind of slippery and kind of awkward. Okay, so we're started. Whew, that was a challenge, but we got there, right? So remember, when it comes out of the bead this direct, we're going, pretty much you're going to go in the bead from the over and out the bead under. Okay, so we came out the bead and we're going under this outside cord. So you can see it's under. Now, as I bring it over, I need to add a bead. So I'm going to add, I'll just work with these because they are close and the container is open and right here. And you can switch the beads. You can switch the size bead. But just remember, make sure your cording will go through the hole. I'm right-handed, so I gotta switch this over. And because I'm using a thicker piece, I may switch over. I may just use the pony beads. Yep, I'm gonna use the pony beads just to make this much easier and so we don't get caught up in me messing with those things. So you'll have your bead, in here like this. So we went out. So we're going in the bead. So it's from the over, going in from the outside. This paste is right here. I'm gonna move it out of the way. Okay. So as it goes out, we're going to go under. And this cord's kind of long. It makes it a little bit of a struggle. We're going to go back through it. We go over. So we're going back through. And as we're exiting this bead, we're going to go under the outside. And I'm going to go slow for a while. So do not worry if this is not quite registering yet, because this is not easy concept until once you get it, you're like, oh, okay, I got it. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult to grasp when you first start. Okay, so now I'm going to take, so through each bead, you're going to weave in and you're going to weave through from the right, under the left cording, wrap it around the outside, go through the bead again, wrap it around the outside on the right side and back. Okay, so we've got our, I think I said that absolutely 100% backwards. But I think you get what I mean here. You don't want it too tight because you don't want that to suck inside. So you see here, we're just weaving. So this entire bracelet is just weaving back and forth. And I'm adding it up here, but you can put it here and just show. And I'm going under. I'm going to hold this down just so my hands aren't in the way to, aren't hindering your view of what I'm doing here. Okay, and then on the end, and then we're going to go over as you go over the outside and back through. And I'm going to go under. I just going to pull this through here because again, I'm not left-handed and I have cameras and all kinds of stuff right up above me. So I'm having to just work in a small space. So kind of tucking everything in. Okay.
A couple questions.
Okay.
Are you going through the bead twice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. The same bead. Yes. So let me show you what I mean.
Okay. And then if you could, I guess, if you have time, can you re-explain the first step?
Yes, absolutely. Let's go through the first one first that we talked about. Then I'll leave this here. I'll put another one up and we'll kind of go through that again. Does that sound like a plan? Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So I have my end here. So to add a bead, I'm going to, what color do I want to put on? I'm going to go yellow. Oh, dropped it. Okay. So I'm just setting it here. It's going to go down. Okay. So I have my end. I'm going through this bead from the outside, going through the bead, and it's going under this side on the outside, on the right side. And again, it doesn't have to be right, left, right. It can go either way. Then it's going to wrap around the right, and I'm going to thread it back through the same bead, and actually it'll go under on this side too. I didn't do that earlier. I did do it ultimately, but when I showed it, I was just pulling this first and then went back under. But I think that may give a little bit better of an understanding of what's going on here. So if you can see here, before I pull it tight, it went through here, wrapped around, went back through and out. So it goes into the bead, out, around the outside, back through the bead, and exits and goes under the opposite side. like that. So I'll leave that like that. Let me pull another. Here, I'll just do this. This is a small piece I have, just like, looks like a scrap, but it will get us what we need for to show the beginning. So I'm you might want to know that what I'm doing there. I'm just gonna go about and do it. Okay, so this is my first cording here. We are going to pretend this is 48 inches. So just pretend it's 48 inches, because I'm just showing you how to start the beginning. So it would be 48 inches. So I'm folding it in half to get the middle. And then I'm going to tie an overhand, or I have a loop here. I'm going to tie an overhand knot to get that loop secure and up at the midpoint of my 48. I'm going to kind of bring it up a little bit. I'm using my hands to kind of move the knot around, because you want this loop to be about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Okay. I'm not measuring, like I said earlier, I'm not measuring. I'm just making a best guess. Okay. And then I'm just pulling it tight, and I'm going to grab some tape here, and I'm going to tape it to my, I'm going to do it over here since all this business is going on over here. And I'm just going to tape it to my surface. So I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit off to the side here. Okay. Now I need to get me a little piece of where I put the lacing. I just had the Rex lacing with, oh, there it is, right here. Let's do a bright orange. Why not? Because that looks fun. And I'm just going to pull this out here. I'm not going to actually cut it. Just going to pull a nice length out. Okay. So what the first thing I did was I'm going to tie this on to one side. I'm right-handed, so I tend to go to the right side, but you can do it in either side if you prefer to start on the left side. I am going to actually have to cut this, aren't I? Yep, that's okay. I do not mind. Do not mind at all. And I just did a double knot on there. I'm pulling that nice and tight. I'm going to cut a piece out of here. Your lacing, your cording that we're working with is actually 72 inches, but I'm just cutting a small piece off just to show you what I'm doing here. Okay. So I just tied it on, and then I'm going to slide it up to the very top. We'll tuck this in later, but right now I'm just leaving this tail there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just like I'm doing already here. I'm going to make one little, nope, it's right. Nope, we're good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bead. I'm going to grab a star. So I'm going to go, I'm going to go through the, oh, my star's blind. I'm going to go through the holes of the star. Where are they? Oh, my hands are fumbling. I was going to use a star, but if this cording, because this cording is flat and rectangular, it is a little bit of a challenge on what beads I can use. Okay, I'm not going to do that one. Not going to do a star. We will go with a pony bead because we know that is nice and large to go through. Okay. So what I'm doing is I have my bead to set here in between. Maybe. Yep. Okay. So I'm going through the bead like this. I'm going under. I'm going to pull it all the way through. Okay. So it went under. So I'm going to wrap it around the outside and go back over through that bead. Same bead. And then I'm going to go under this one. And back through that same bead one more time. And then I can kind of scoot it up and tighten these, tighten this lacing up. Get it all nice and tight, but I'm actually going to loosen it in just a minute. I'm going to tighten it so you can see it all tight, but then I'm going to loosen it so you'll have that visual. So as you're starting, you can kind of figure out how I'm working on that. And that's how you get it started. And it's really the same technique that you do through the whole bracelet, except this first starting point. So I'm going to loosen this just so you can kind of see what it looks like on all end, kind of what's going on here. So like I said, this is not, I mean, it's a fairly easy bracelet once you get going, but the get going takes a little bit of practice. So the beginning, the weaving part, So it just takes a little bit of practice. This is being recorded. So for some reason you're needing to go back and look and watch it maybe slower. I think it's going to be up. I think is that like in 24 hours? Is that right?
It'll be up Monday.
Monday. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Forget it's Friday. Usually you do these classes on Thursday. Forget it's Friday. So I'm gonna leave that kind of like that loose so you can kind of see. I don't know if that's a little bit helpful visual, but I'll leave that. And if for some reason we need to go back through it again, then we can do that and we'll have our little practice side. So I'm just going to keep going on here on this one. So once you get your bead, your first bead on, and really the first bead, it's like I said, it's the same technique, but you tie it on. It's the same. You go through it twice, just like you do all the other ones. And you're just weaving. And I have this one I have on, and you can see this right here. And to wear it, you put it on and you wrap it around. And then you just tuck this guy in, and I'll show you how to finish this off here in just a little bit when we get to that point, because we are not yet there. We may or may not be able to get completely get everything on by the end of the class, but we will definitely have a clasp so you can go back and finish it up, and I'll teach you how to get that clasp on. And I'm struggling because I'm trying not to use my hip, which is not on camera. Like I usually use the counter and use my hip, and then you'll get to see. I'm going to do it over here. Sorry, I'm going to use my stomach, and then I'll come back on. Okay, so it's on like that, and then it comes over to and it goes over these two beads that we're going to put on at the end. So the techniques in this really are weaving and knotting, and which are great jewelry techniques. So there's that. So it looks fun, and it's much easier to take off than it was for my struggle to get it on there. But okay, so you can use different, like I said earlier, you can use different ones. Let's check out the holes in this one. This one the hole may be big enough in here. So we're going to see if I can. And sometimes I like to get it started up here. It doesn't have to be laying on the table. You get it started up here. And then you can set it down and work it underneath. And then back through. Yay, we can use another bead. You didn't always have to be pony beads. Which pony beads are great. Don't get me wrong, but it's fun to have a couple of different beads in there. And if it gets twisted like this, you can either keep going because you're probably not going to even notice it, or you can just work it around, and it'll pretty much flop with you. If you're using the Rex lacing, like I said, because it's rectangle, it's a little bit wider, so it's a little bit sometimes you can see some of those challenges that you may not have with these right here, because these right here are rounded and they just kind of fly through pretty easy. So that's fun. See, it's a different shape. And then, so let me show you if you want to add letters. Now the letters are a little bit strange, because typically, when you wear your bracelet, your letters are sideways, but these, because the holes are here, you just do them just like you do with all the other beads. Okay, I'm going to go up and go under here. So you go under. So let me tell you a little thing here, and I hope this does not confuse you. But if for some reason you get going and you're like, oh, I didn't go under, I'm going over, then under, that is completely fine. So where I taught, we came out the bead and went under. If you went over and then you're working underneath, that's fine. The big thing is, as long as you're weaving. So what you do is the thing is, you want to go from the outside in. And then when you exit the bead, you need to go the opposite. So it's almost like an infinity. So you're going in, out and around, through the bead, down, out and around, and through the bead. And so you're just kind of do a figure 8 in the same bead. And then you can move to the next figure 8 with the next bead, and the next figure 8 with the next bead. Okay, same thing with your letters. So for some reason, I don't know why I picked that letter. Let's see. Why don't I do... Are we going to do mom, or are we going to do wow? What do you think? I'm going to do mom, because I am one. So I am going to do my M, just like I would the other beads. Go through the hole and underneath. and then do my weaving. Now this is smaller, so it may be a little bit awkward here, but this bead, this alpha bead came with this bead box, and it was right here, so it might be a little. But there's some other ones that are a little bit bigger that you can add in, or you can use this one. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's off a little bit. And then I went back through, and then I'm going under on this side. So that's how you add your letters. Just like any other bead, is just going to be up and down. Where a lot of, alphabet are sideways. It doesn't matter. So there's that. You can also, if I had two smaller, I'll use my other two letters here just to show you. If you wanted this to be a little bit wider, you don't want it this narrow, you can stack beads. And by stack beads, I mean, I'm just like going to just use 2 pony beads. You thread 2. And then do the same weaving technique. Now, I would say if you're going to do this, make your first bead a single, so you don't have a big gap under that first knot. And then you can do your doubles from there. I wouldn't mix singles and doubles too much, because then your bracelet is going to be a little cattywonker, a little sideways. And oh, I use that. That's a fun term from back when I was younger. Okay. So then you can do a double. So then it's a little bit wider. So you just got to. I'm working this. I got twisted here. That's why I'm having a little bit of a challenge there. There we go. Fixed it. Oh, fixed it backwards. Let's fix it the right way now. Okay. So then you can have a double. It's kind of fun. If you want a double, I'm just going to keep it on there. Why not? But for some reason, I'm like, what's going on? I didn't go under. That's what's going on. So I'm just going to keep going with all these strange beads on here, just because I just wanted to show you that you can do other things other than just pony beads or regular beads. But the key things, as I mentioned earlier, the key things are make sure the cord that you choose to do your cording, to do your lacing or your weaving, will fit through your bead, the holes in your beads, because that's very important. But other than that, and you want a nice sturdy cord on the outside. There's all kinds of options for that. And your lacing cord can be stretchy, it can be, doesn't have to be stretchy. It can be these guys that came with your bead cord, came with your beads. It can be embroidery floss, like friendship bracelet making stuff. Yeah, you can do any of that stuff. So it's lots of fun things. And as we're weaving, I'll let you guys weave for a few more minutes, and then I'll show you an end, and I'm going to keep weaving, but I may not talk too much about the weaving I'm doing, but I will talk about, I'll show you how to do the ending as you're weaving, but I'll let you weave some more. That's what I'm trying to say. I was going to show you I'm doing a rainbow loom. I had asked a couple of times what are some techniques you guys would like to learn about as I'm making these jewelry classes. I like to know what you guys are interested in learning, because I'd love to, build some projects out of what you're interested in learning. One of the things was rainbow loom. And I personally love rainbow loom. I am an adult who loves rainbow loom. So this is a rainbow loom. So I'm doing I think it's February 13th. I'm doing a rainbow loom charm bracelet class. And here are 2 ideas and just a sneak peek. Some of these charms are new. They're not in store yet, but they will be soon. So you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek. So these are just 2 different rainbow loom charm bracelet techniques. So it's kind of fun. You can add 1 charm, you can add 2 charms, you can add a bunch of charms, you can add no charms, whatever you want to do. But I'm calling it a charm bracelet because I hanged charms on there, and I wanted this to look a little bit like a chain. So if you are looking for something to make for Mother's Day, or you're looking for, I know February's early, but you know, never too early to get started. So we're making this, and this is made out of this right here is made out of the just the rainbow loom kit. It's like a box, and there's like, I don't know, 12 colors, maybe 8. I can't remember exactly. And there's some of these little Lumi charms, which is a rainbow loom product. So these have some of the Creatology charms on it, or this one I used the Lumi charm that came with the kit. So just to show you can use either one. So if you want to just get the kit, you will be set up for what you need.
Somebody is asking a question.
Yes.
They asked, if I'm using the cording variety pack, black and white pack, what cording do I use to weave the beads? The other cord I'm using is the black non-stretchy cord, just like the sample black one you have on display.
Just like this one. Okay, great. What I used on this one was the second one here. And see, I don't have a whole lot left. I've used it several times, but you can, honestly, you can use any of these. I would suggest one of these smaller ones. That way you're not as limited on beads, because the holes in the beads. You can use any of the beads in these boxes. You can use any of the beads here, even like these small alphabet beads that have this really small holes. So that's what I would recommend. But you can use any of these. All of these work. So I would, like I said, I'd recommend these two right here. They're the same bead, except one's clear and one's black. So same thing here. These are relatively, I think this one's cotton and this is like a leather, but these are the same size. And then this one gets a little bit thicker. So it's pretty much, these are small, medium, and I wouldn't say this was large, but this is larger than the others. But that's what I would recommend. If you have I don't have the spool right here, but there's a not rainbow, I'm sorry. There is a Creatology, like a little spool of stretchy cords that works to also. All of these things work. These are all great products to work together. So if there's a technique or a jewelry making something or other you've seen out there that you would like to learn about, we would love to hear what that is. You can put it in the chat, and I will take some notes and write some things down. We work pretty far ahead, as you can tell when I showed you the rainbow loom, that's ready for a class in February. But I am looking for ideas for later. I have not figured out what I'm doing yet for my next class, but I will. But I would, just taking input, if there's anything that you've seen out there you want to learn about, I would love to hear what you are interested in. So I've done friendship bracelets. I've done, I can do macrame. I can do, as I showed, got a rainbow loom coming up. Trying to think what else. I mean, there's all kinds of bead techniques that are out there. I've done some of it's almost like this weaving, but it's with the little seed beads that are so popular. I know stretchy beads are stretch bracelets are so popular, and they're really simple to do. They won't take a full hour, but we could do multiples. So if that's something you're interested in learning how to do, it's a lot of fun. So just, if you don't have anything right now, that's okay. And when you are done with your bracelets, we'd love to see it. So just hashtag, can you remind us what the hashtag is? I can never remember when I'm on camera.
Hashtag make it Michael's classes and hashtag make it with Michael's.
Fabulous. Thank you. Okay, it looks like we have about 15 minutes left. So I'm going to show really quick how to do the ending. So if you are not done, that's okay. If you want to just watch me do this, that's great. And then you can go back and finish up your bracelet. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, I know how to do that now. Super easy, almost just like what you've already done at the first part. Okay. So what you're going to do is, take the tape off. And just like here, we're going to put a knot. Let me see it here. I'm going to move it up close. This dark color is kind of hard to see. Let me see if you can see it better on this one, because it's got blue and white. Yeah, this one maybe. Well, doesn't really have, the blue's not on the knot, but that's okay. So I don't know, that might be a little bit easier to see. So I have finished it up with, I did a knot just like I did on the beginning here with the end, and I'll do that here in just a minute. I'm just gonna talk you through it, then I'm going to show you. Okay, knot it, thread it, just like we did on the first part, and then I'm going to do a knot below the last bead. I'm going to add two beads. If you'll see on this one, I put them together. On this one, I did them separate. Doesn't matter. And then I did another knot. Okay, so to do that, so I have my, say, we'll pretend this is the end of my bracelet. So I have the cord. So I'm just going to wrap this. I'm going to knot it around, and really, the knot does not have to be any kind of specific knot. You just want your main objective is to make sure it doesn't slip off. So I'm just going to tie this. And if you need an adult to help you with this knot, I'm sure they were happy to help you with the knot as well, because it can be a little bit challenging on this end because you just have the one side. And I'm going to do another knot. I'm going to do a double knot. So what I'm doing is just making a loop like this around the outside. And then I'm going to thread that through, and then pulling it tight. So I just did that twice. And then I am actually going to take this piece. I know I have a long piece here because I'm not done, but we're pretending that I am. And then I'm going to go through the last bead that I had. I'm going to wrap it around and come up, and I'm going to go back through. Basically, I'm just weaving it a couple of times just to give it a little bit extra security, or more chances for more things it has to do to come unloose, right? So I'm just going to, well, this extra. Okay, so then what I would just do, I'm just pull it. I'm just going to pull it, and then I would cut it. I'm not going to cut it because I'm not done, but I would cut this off. Okay, then I'm going to do a knot below my last bead that and I'll do this again. So don't worry if I'm going too fast. Put a knot on the last, just below the last bead. Doesn't have to be any certain length. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to thread some of these hearts because these have nice large holes in them. So what I did with one of them, I did it together. Thread both of them through the same bead. This is going to go through. Yeah. Okay. Got to shove it through. They don't have to be the same color. I just happen to just grab two. Okay. So, and then pull it up here. And I don't do them super loose. I like to have a little bit of, that way they can kind of play. I mean, move up and down when they want to. I'm going to tie another knot to hold those in place. Just a simple overhand knot. It will do. And I just move the bead and move the knot where I want it. And again, I have some room here. And then I would trim this. So it's like this right here. And then to close, when you have it on, once you wrap it around your wrist twice, it goes through there and over the beads, over one of the beads that you thread at the end. So that way, when you have it on, it's your clasp. That little loop is your clasp. So really it's just weaving and knotting. So let me show this again. I'm going to undo this. Maybe. Let me show you another little awesome trick when it comes to jewelry making. Toothpick. One of the best tools in jewelry making. I'm just going to loosen the knot with that in there. Give me something to work against. And then I use a toothpick for when I need to add glue to a jewelry piece that's just a really, really small piece. I use a toothpick for all kinds of things in jewelry making. So it's always a good thing to have around. Okay. So I'm going to undo that. Do that. And yes, I am a designer. I'm a professional designer for the Michaels stores. And we even have times where we have to back things out. So it's always good to have those tools to help help fix something. Okay, so we tied our end on our weaving cord onto our side border cards. I mean, our parallel cords. I don't even know what you would call these guys. And then I'm going to tie a knot just below the last bead added. And there's no formula or dimension or measurement or anything. It has to be perfect, just however you want it to be on there. I like the first and the last to match, but you know what? I'm not even going to put them next to each other because they're not going to be next to each other. So you'll never know. There's, so then you're going to add your two. So this time I'm going to show you how I just on that one, I didn't put them on the same cord. So I'm going to thread one on this one and this one. Now the key, if you're adding two like this, is you don't want to tie it like this. You want to tie them so that you have enough room where they'll be like this. So that way you can fit your little cord in between them. Your loop on the other end, your closing loop. And I'll show you what I mean. And then tie another knot below that last bead and put on there. And again, doesn't have to be tight. You don't want it tight because you want them to be able to play in there. And this one they can switch spots if they want to. And yes, I am talking to them like they are alive. And then I'm going to thread that in. And then, you just put your loop in between the two. Now we'll go back to the first, and then once you get that side done, you trim your end. So your bracelet's all done on one end. We still have this tail to deal with here. So all I'm going to do, just like we did on the first side, is I'm just going to thread it through that first bead. Now, if you're using the cording that I had, this one I suggested, he's not going to pop out as much as like this guy right here is a little bit of a challenge. He's wanting to kind of do his own thing. This cord behaves a little bit better than this one does, just because this one's wider and flat. Just the aerodynamics, I guess, the shape of it does make a difference in how it's holding against the plastic. And then I'm going to push those down because I want this guy. And really, I'm just threading it as much as I can. Bring it back through. The plastic likes to stick to each other sometimes when they're close knit.
Someone has a suggestion of something that they would like to learn in the future.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this, but maybe things. They would like to learn how to make the precious stone tree of life pendant that they've seen online.
Precious stone tree of life. I'm going to write that down. So I remember to look that up. Did they find it on the Michaels website?
I'm not sure. They just said online.
Okay. I'm sorry. It was a precious
stone tree of life pendant.
Stone tree of life pendant. Awesome. Thank you. Ideas. I will look that up and see what that is. If it's a project that we've done, then that is, or if it's something out on the website that I would be, or just on the web that I can adapt into a kid's class, I would love to do something like that. Thank you. Then once you get this woven a few times, you'll just trim the end. If you want to, you can add some glue, just drop it inside there. If it gets messy and gets out here, it will dry clear if you're using an Elmer's, like a school glue or a Creatology. I like to use these Creatology glue pens because they have a nice little nozzle here that I can drop in here. And all it's going to do, it looks messy, but I promise you, I like to stick it in there and just kind of squeeze. And you can, if you see real careful, there's like all this glue in there. It's going to dry clear. So that's okay. And this is not a must, but it is a nice it's just a nice little tip that if you want to do that on both ends, where we went through here too, that will really help keep those ends in there, especially if you're using wax lacing, because they don't always like to behave the way you want them to when you're doing certain actions like this weaving. It works great. It just likes to do its own thing there towards the end. So and we have just a few more minutes. So just keep practicing on the weaving. And like I said, it's really easy once you get the hang of it. It's getting the hang of it. Sometimes it'll take some practice. So go back onto our class Monday if you need to, and watch the video on how to make and how to do some of the weaving or some of the tips that we talked about today. And we'd love to see your bracelets online at our hashtag Make It With Michaels. And then what was the other one? The online classes?
Yeah, it's Michael's classes, and then hashtag Make It With Michaels.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to get some of these other guys out of our way here and leave our beautiful finished ones here on this mat. And this is a fun project because these kits here, you can make several bracelets here with this cording. You can make several bracelets. So if you have friends over and you want to make some bracelets, then you're set up for more than one, which is nice with this craft. So thank you so much for crafting with us today. I had a lot of fun, and post your projects. Thank you.